He had this clarity of seeing through all the ideals that people have about themselves, how they think humans are so wonderful, so great. And he thought that no, humans are actually quite dastardly, and you have to be able to deal with it, and you have to be a realist. So I love Schopenhauer's realism. Now, the influence of Arthur Schopenhauer on me, I have to admit that his longest tome, Will and Representation, I'm misquoting the title exactly, I never quite finished. I'm sorry, I'm very embarrassed to say. So that book is very powerful, very interesting. What he has to say about art and music is mind-blowing, and I loved it, but I didn't quite finish the book. But what I loved about Schopenhauer was his sharpness about human beings. He was like Machiavelli. You might even say he was a bit of a misanthrope, but he saw through all of the crap that people pretend to be. He wrote this amazing book. It's only about 50 pages long, and it's all about exposing the way people manipulate you in an argument. And he analyzed all the different ways that people do this in an argument. And it was brilliant. I've used it and I've quoted it extensively. I did a piece some years ago about passive-aggressive forms of argument, basically based on what Schopenhauer wrote. He had this clarity of seeing through all the ideals that people have about themselves, how they think humans are so wonderful, so great. And he thought that no, humans are actually quite dastardly, and you have to be able to deal with it, and you have to be a realist. So I love Schopenhauer's realism. He said, when you go into social life, you have to be carrying a sword because it's battle, it's warfare out there. You can't be naive. He had that kind of Machiavellian clarity about social interactions. He could see through all of the pretensions that people had. He wasn't the happiest person that ever lived, but a lot of great people, great thinkers, writers, poets, painters, people like Van Gogh or Nietzsche weren't necessarily the happiest person. He led a kind of lonely life, etc. He saw through so many things. He had that clarity of thinking through deeply into a problem, deeply into human nature, deeply into the social world. As you know, I'm somebody that has a kind of a realistic outlook on life. And I don't really like all the pretensions that we had, beliefs that we're such angels. So I am naturally attracted to people who, I wouldn't say they're cynical, I just say that they're incredibly realistic and clear-sighted. And that would be people like Nietzsche, Machiavelli, and most definitely Arthur Schopenhauer. And so on one of my recent newsletters, I referenced the book that had the biggest influence on me of Schopenhauer's. I used it extensively for the 48 Laws of Power. The book, The Wisdom of Life, of Arthur Schopenhauer, also called Counsels and Maxims. It includes maxims at the end. But his book, The Wisdom of Life, is kind of like a practical guide about how to live in this world. And it's really brilliant, and it is actually very practical, and I highly recommend you read this. It had a big impact, and as I said, it very much influenced the 48 Laws of Power.